Hello, my name is Diego Borgo. This is my spin-off take of the popular role-playing game Dungeons & Dragons, played across the world in many different variations. I took this to mean that it was, I had the creative liberty to expand upon it in some way that I wanted to, and so I chose to make a Java-based application running in either the console of an IDE or the terminal, which I will be running the command line for Mac, which I will be running it through later. And I took my interpretation of D&D and turned it into reality with my programming. And so again, the title of this is RapidFireDnD. And so here to quickly display the Eclipse workspace. This is the main class, obviously. As you can see, it's all packaged into one Eclipse project, and all of the files used are over here. And in order to run this, I exported this into a runnable jar and calling it from the command line, which I will do shortly. Just wanted to show where I coded all of these things. So I'll just quickly display the main class. As you can see, this is where things begin, the main menu setup, and then the game class, which is the one that calls all of the other files and creates something like this. And they're all instantiated and used in different ways to make a fully playable variation of Dungeons and Dragons, which is highly customizable, as I will explain later. And it is really, open to interpretation as whatever the user chooses to take it as. So let's quickly minimize this. So we have the command line open. I will be running this in just a second. I'm going to pull up the list of things that I am going to cover in this quick presentation. Alright. So, here's the beginning of the RapidFireDnD game. As you can see up here, it's going to display Welcome to Dungeons & Dragons. It's a fantasy RPG where your character travels through an enemy-infested dungeon. Here we're presented with some initial commands. Before we start the game, I'll quickly display the quit button. Very easy. It's just going to go right back to the beginning, and that's useful in case it was accidentally run, in order to not have to terminate the terminal shell. So, quickly again, the help is going to display a version of the help. It'll do a little description. This version of Dungeons & Dragons, created by myself, is a simple rapid-fire time trial in which you guide your character through an unknown dungeon of a select size to overcome all obstacles. You win by clearing all of the rooms in your chosen dungeon. Here are the menu commands as displayed, and you can see this has popped up again. And so we can see moving up, down, left, right, character stats, weapon stats, inventory, heal, and quit. And these will be displayed again later, you will be able to access these again later, so it's not much of a worry to memorize them right now. So finally, we're going to type S to start a new game. We're going to hit S. And as you can see, I've been using lowercase inputs, lowercase, uppercase, all of it works, so it's not a problem. So, starting a new game, welcome to the dungeon. Select a map size, number by number square. I'm going to quickly display that you can't use any numbers that are too small. 0 and 1 map sizes are not going to work because a map size of a 1 by 1 square would basically just be over already. Considering that the first square that you land on is an empty square in order to allow the player to get their bearings, and the rest of them are available, so therefore a 1 by 1 would be too small. I have found that my preferred method of play is by a 4 by 4 square. This will create 16 rooms, one of them being the starting room, obviously, so 15 other explorable rooms. And I think it's a very easy, quick way to play the game. And like I said, this is the fully customizable part of this game, where you can choose, how you want to approach it. Essentially, you could spend as much time as you want, exploring a massive dungeon if you so choose, and you have plenty of time to do that. Well, then be my guest. So we're gonna hit 4, and we're gonna create a 4 by 4 square. Now it's gonna give us options to choose a character. And these characters have been provided based on some default Dungeons & Dragons characters. So Barbarian, they also each have a specific attribute. For example, the Barbarian says that they're bad at escaping traps, but they make up for it in increased strength and constitution and things like that. So all of these have their own specific. I am personally a ranger player in pretty much all games that I play, so I'm going to choose the 8th character. In terms of name of my ranger character, if you get the reference, good for you. And so it's going to instantiate my character right here. It's going to create the name, class, level, experience points, HP, hit dice, which we use to calculate some of the traits, primary abilities, saving throw, gold, which will be increased as the game goes on, and you'll try and collect as much gold as possible, AC, and then all of these individual stats with their respective modifiers, proficiencies, and that'll be it. So now I can create the starter weapon. Oh, and let me quickly move this over here so it's a little easier to see. These are the things, like I said, that I'll be covering real quickly. Creating the starter weapon, enter the name of this melee weapon. Again, another reference to a favorite game of mine. If you get this one, again, good for you. So we'll move that over, and weapon created. So the story begins, and now comes the intro dialogue, and I'll let this play out. And just like that, the intro dialogue is over. We can see that we start the game with 2 heals. This is again at a ratio to how big the size of your dungeon is, so you can play for as much time as needed, and you'll be able to stay alive as much as possible. So, as you can see up here, game started, clear all rooms to win. I'm going to drag this back in right there. So, now this is the main view, and I'm going to quickly cross this off as we have just covered this. So, we've now gotten to the main view, and I will explain how this goes. This is the dungeon map right here. As you can see down here, what it says is, oh shoot, whatever. Okay, as you can see over here, you have these question marks, which are obviously uncleared rooms. You have not explored them yet, and there are still, things to be explored inside of them. Each room holds a specific thing, which is displayed down here: monster, event, and weapon. So those are the 3 types of rooms that you can get into. And X is an empty room, gives a little bit of a break. There's only a couple scattered around, and the first one obviously is an empty room as well. And like I said, monsters, events, weapons, explained down here, are cleared rooms. So essentially they're hidden until entered and cleared. So as you can see right now, they're all hidden because we have not explored any of them other than the empty rooms. As soon as we enter one and explore it, it'll show up as cleared, and it'll show what it was before. That one thing will not remain in that room, so if you re-enter that room, it will no longer be a monster, event, or weapon, but it'll just show you what you cleared in that room, so you can go back and take a look at your pathway to success, essentially. So as you can see, it displays where we are, row 1, column 1, and this is the starting screen, and this location will auto-update, obviously. Type C for commands. We're going to quickly pull up the commands. As you can see, there's the same commands listed over here. Up, down, left, and right are movement commands, and I'll quickly cover them. Keep going. Character stats, weapon stats, inventory, heal, and quit are the commands available in the main menu. One that I probably will not be covering is the quit command because, obviously it'll just terminate. And it will show your final gold count and final stats for the progress of your dungeon, as it will when you win the game or when you lose the game or perish in the dungeon. So we'll see that later. So it's going to pull the map view back up again as we've just called the commands, and now we know what we're able to do. Quickly, I'm going to show you that since we are on row 1, column 1, these movement commands, up, down, left, and right, will check for boundaries. So as you can see, since we're in the top left corner, we can't move up and we can't move left, and so it'll tell us invalid boundary reach. It'll reprint the map again. So we're now going to move on. Since we covered a couple of these, I'm going to quickly cross them up or cross them off, just like that. We're not going to be covering this one as well. And this is the map view and arrays. So actually, let me quickly explain this last part, the arrays. As you can see, there are actually 3 different map views going on behind the scenes. The first one is where all of the objects are held. So if they're null, it'll be an empty room. And then each object is being held as a monster, event, or weapon. So they're already automatically generated when the map is created. The question mark map is obviously the hidden map. They will change to exclamation marks, but you won't be able to see that because it'll go on to explain which one it is once the room has been cleared. And as I said, the cleared room is the final array that has stored all of these values and will show you as you progress which rooms you have gone in and which rooms you have cleared. Alright, so we're quickly going to cover, as you can see down here, the stats, inventory, and heal commands. So these are the character stats. It's again going to print the same thing that printed out at the beginning, and this is just in case you want to be able to check as you go along. We're going to quickly check our active weapon stats. This is a randomly created weapon at the beginning, as you can see with the weapon named Broken Hero Sword, weapon type melee. It's always going to be a melee weapon at the beginning, and it's going to print out our stats. that we had. And we're going to have as well our inventory, which right now is empty. As you can see, you can enter a number to get stats for that weapon. So 0 is your equipped weapon, and as it says right here, up to 0 for, and I messed this up again, well, whatever. Up to 0 for an inventory weapons that are stored. And so we're just going to exit right now because we don't have any stored. So we're going to move on. We're now going to hit right. We're going to move in the right direction. Cross this off. Alright, so we stride confidently into the room, unafraid of the dangers, and we have now encountered a monster. So as you can see, it's going to create a monster with a set level, or well, a randomized level, attack speed, range, you know, powerful against and decay values. And as you can see, more dialogue, staring intimidatingly, neither of you wants to back down. The battle now begins. So this battle modifier, to quickly explain, is simply the net sum of the undead well, in this case the undead archer, but whatever monster it is, whether or not they're powerful against something or weak against something, and whether or not the weapon that you're using is powerful against this specific type of mob, or if it's weak against that specific type of mob. Battle modifier does favor the player in that it'll add 2 if the monster is weak against the weapon or against the character, and it'll add 2 if the character's weapon is strong against the monster. So, to head on, you can now see that our character name is displayed, Lukosia, Broken Hero, with the weapon that we're using, the Broken Hero Sword. It shows our current HP, our base damage, which will be altered based on range, and a little bit of randomized crit chance, as well as the Undead Archer with the same exact stats. It shows HP, base damage, and range. Now, it's going to show which turn this is. This is simply just a counter to track what turn you're on, and how many turns it takes for you to finish the battle. And this is the distance between you and the monster. So this is very important because it'll affect things like range. As you can see, we're out of range. There is a little bit of a buffer in terms of you being slightly out of range. Your weapon won't have as much effectiveness, so that is also important. Here are going to be the commands inside the fight functions. So we're going to quickly demonstrate a couple of these. I'm going to hit B backwards. As you can see, I take a step backwards, and the monster doesn't want me to run away, so it's now going to take a step forwards. The distance remains the same. As you can see, I'm going to now take a step forwards, and I'm going to take a step forwards. The monster is also going to get closer because it wants to get closer within this range to have as much effectiveness. However, I am not going to let it get there because I want to attack it while my range is still slightly good and base damage is big enough so that I may be able to kill it. 4 damage. Although it is slightly out of range, it does do 4 damage. And just like that, I've already killed the Undead Archer. I'm going to earn 5 gold pieces, and it's, you know, simply that easy depending on what weapon you have and how things are covered. So there we go. That's our first monster combat. I'm going to quickly cross out some more of these things that we've now covered. I will re-demonstrate the inventory again. We've covered all of these, and again, like I said, I'm not demonstrating the exit/quit commands because those are very self-explanatory. This will just exit, it'll have you run away, you will earn 0 gold for the fight that you're in with the monster, if you do choose to run away. And yeah, so we've covered these things. I'm now going to cover heal really quickly. We've also covered a monster encounter. There we go. Alright, so we're going to recover inventory before I do heal. Well, actually, I'll do heal once I take damage against a monster later. So we're going to cover inventory, and alright, so I'm going to actually exit this because we have not found a new weapon. So as soon as we find a new weapon, I will let you guys know. So there we go. We're going to go right into a new room, tiptoe into the room. We've encountered another monster, so I'm going to quickly skip past this. This monster battle is, you know, not essential. I've already covered it, so we'll be right back when I'm done with this battle. So now we're completely done with the monster encounters. We're going to skip those from now on, and I will continue to run through. We're now in row 1, column 3. We're going to go right. Tiptoe into the room. We have now found a weapon, so this is the second one of the encounters that I'm going to cover. As you can see, it says you thank your lucky stars as you walk over to pick up your weapon. So it's going to prompt us to enter the name of this magic weapon. Now this is again a randomized weapon type, so it has chosen to give me a magic weapon. And there we go. So we're going to do, let's think about this for a second. Alright, again, similar reference, so hopefully someone understands this. And it's now going to create a new weapon. As you can see, with a randomized durability, it's going to start with 0 experience points in level 1. Specific attack type, attack speed, and range are all randomized again. These randomized mana cost and lingering are traits that are specific to magic weapons. Now melee and melee, I believe, has finesse and crit chance, and range has I think like clip type and some other things. So yeah, those are specific to just magic weapons, and they will also affect how much damage it does. So it's going to ask us, would you like to keep this weapon as an active or as a stored weapon? I'm going to right now put it in as an active weapon. The good thing about this is we can now go and check exactly which weapon we want to keep in our inventory. So first, we're going to press W again to recheck the active weapon stats. These are now from the weapon that we just picked up. It does have decent attack speed and range, and kind of low durability, high mana cost, and lingering. So I'm now going to go back, and we're going to go into our inventory. As you can see now, the Broken Hero Sword was automatically transferred from our active slot to our inventory because we put the Nebula Gauntlets into the active slot. So it'll now say enter a number to get stats for that weapon, 0 for the equipped weapon, which is currently the Nebula Gauntlets, and 1 for the inventory weapon. So we're going to now print the stats for the inventory weapon. You can see durability is higher, experience points are also higher, and it's closer to leveling up. Attack speed and range are decent, and finesse and crit chance are also pretty good. However, it does only have near attack type. So I am actually, just for the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to keep the Nebula Gauntlets. Or actually, we'll explain both. As you can see, I can say, would you like to swap this weapon with your equipped weapon? I'm going to hit no. Currently, as you can see, the inventory remains the same. It's going to ask me yet again if I wanted to swap with another one if I had multiple down here. But I'm going to do it one more time. We're going to pull up the stats again for the Broken Hero Sword, and we're going to actually swap it right back in. So now you can see the Nebula Gauntlets have been pulled out of our primary slot, slotted into our inventory, and the Broken Hero Sword is now in our main active weapon slot. And we're going to leave it like that. We're going to exit. And like I said, this durability, the Broken Hero Sword actually started out with higher durability, and it has been going down as we have been using it. So we're going to leave it just like that for now, and we're going to exit the inventory. We're back into the map main menu. As you can see, we're at the row 1, column 4. We've cleared out this top row, so we're going to continue. We stride confidently into the room, unafraid of the dangers ahead. We've now encountered another monster. I'm going to skip past this encounter because we have already shown how monsters work. So we'll be back in just a second. Just going to quickly cut in one more time to show that right here, our Broken Hero Sword did level up when we did damage to the monster. So as you can see, it's now level 2, and we'll check the stats right after to see how it's been increased. And as you can see, I have just also leveled up as well, right before defeating the human warrior. So I'm now level 2. All of my stats will be increased as well, and that'll be shown really quickly. So we're back in the main menu. As you can see, my stats are now a little bit better, and our character stats have gotten a little better. You can see we have now more gold, etc., etc. We're going to check our weapon stats as well. It is now level 2. These things have been increased. Durability is still going down, but this level being increased will actually just increase the base output damage by a fairly significant amount. So now it may be more favorable to keep the Broken Hero Sword in until it runs out of durability, and then replace it with the other one. So we're going to continue. We're going to go left now as we're in row 2, column 4. You can see that we've entered an empty/cleared room. There's nothing there, so we're going to continue. We're going to go left once more, another empty/cleared room, and we're going to get all the way to the left side of the board once more, stride confidently into the room, unafraid of the dangers ahead. We're going to get another monster, so we're going to skip past this encounter once more. I'll be back in a second. Okay, so we have actually just taken out 2 more monsters because they were both back-to-back, so I cleared both of those rooms. We are now back into the main view, and we are on row 3, column 1. You can see both of these have just been cleared. I did take a substantial amount of damage, so we are going to actually, right now, we're going to heal, and we're going to quickly do that, and we'll display how this function works. I have also covered the inventory, so I can quickly cross out of this. And so we're now going to cover the heal function. As you can see, if we click C, we'll just cover this one more time. As you can see, when you click C, or type in C, it'll show us all the commands again, so we can review and make sure that we know that H is heal. So we're going to hit H. You can now see we currently have 2 heals, and it's going to heal our character from 10 to 21, so all the way up to full HP, and you can now see we have 1 heal now remaining. So we're back in the main view. We're going to quickly now cover, hopefully, we're going to move right into the next room. We're going to hopefully get an event. We'll see what happens though. Another monster, so we'll skip this and we'll be right back. Alright, we've defeated another monster. We're going to continue on into the next room, hopefully get an event so we can cover what that looks like. There we go. Alright, and as I will quickly explain before we go into this event, this map view shows all of the things, and as you can see, there's clearly an abundance of monsters, and since Dungeons & Dragons is mostly based around fighting monsters and leveling up your characters and managing your weapons, that's what I chose to place priority upon. This is, actually it's a randomized map, obviously, and a randomized probability of getting each each object in each room. It's obviously more skewed towards monsters, and then actually more towards weapon and event almost evenly. I think weapon has a little bit more favorable chance of spawning. But as you can see, that's the reason why we haven't run into so many weapons and events yet, because it's been a lot of monsters, and obviously it's more of a challenge to have to fight all of these monsters. So we're going to continue. It's now going to say, into this event, we have encountered a choice. So this is one of the types of events that we have covered. The other ones are disaster, which are randomly damaging, natural disaster events, essentially, that can happen in a room when one enters. It'll do damage to the character. And trap events, which will, again, do damage to a character, and it'll also sometimes keep them stuck for a period of time and do lingering damage. So if we don't get to those, if those are not explained in our board, then now you know what they do. So this is the first type of event, the choice event. This is probably one of my favorites. So as you can see, 3 boxes have appeared on a table in front of your character. Which will you choose to put your hand into? So we now have a choice. Enter number 1 through 3. I'm going to go with lucky number 2. We're going to pray. Withdraws it hastily. They've been bitten, and sorry again, it's been cut off. I can't really move this, but we have been bitten by something inside the box. And as you can see, it tells us our damage taken was 2, and it'll explain that it is strong against rogue and weak against warlock. So since we are neither of those, we are a ranger. We have taken only the normal amount of damage, and it hasn't been increased for us. So back out into the main map, you can see the event has already been cleared, so we're good to go with that. And we're going to continue on. We're going to hopefully get some more things, maybe a new event, and if not, I'm going to quickly run through the rest of these and we'll see what the win condition looks like. And I actually quickly just went back. As you can see, I went back into the previous room, which had a monster in it, but it now has nothing. As you can see, it says you entered an empty/cleared room. There's nothing there. So as you can see, that's what it does after you've entered a room, cleared something. You can go back into that room and you're not going to find another monster. You're not going to find another event because you've already cleared it. So it's just going to tell you that's an empty/cleared room. So we're going to continue to go right. Again, another empty/cleared room because we moved back into the event room. And again, keeping track with this location down here. Now we're going to rock into a new room. We'll see what happens. It's another event. We'll see if it's one of the... Alright, here we go. You've encountered a trap. So this is the second type of event, a trap. Enter to roll the dice to determine your punishment. We're going to quickly do that. A magical straitjacket conjured by some higher power appears around your character's body. Damage taken 0. It is not very effective. Strong against barbarian and weak against druid. So that one was actually a very lucky one. We got a lucky roll. We didn't take any damage from that. It's not effective, and a druid may have honestly even profited from the fact that it took no damage, because it's already traps are already weak against druids. If it was a barbarian, it may have done some extra damage. So we're now going to continue. We've covered that one. We're going to go down one more time. We'll see if we can get the last event. If not, then that's okay. We've got another monster. We're skipping past this. Okay, so quickly just to jump back in. We've now gotten into a weapon room. We've gotten a new weapon, and this is a ranged weapon. One more time, another reference. Hopefully someone will get these references. We're going to pull this one out. And there we go. We can now see it's a range type weapon, durability, and attack speed and range are clearly much higher. Spread and piercing are going to be affected though by the level and the durability. So this is what ranged weapons have the power to do, is have this high attack speed and range, because they are ranged weapons. SDMG, actually a reference, and I will quickly explain this because some of them have been from Terraria. All of the weapons have been from Terraria. The SDMG stands for Space Dolphin Machine Gun, and so clearly a machine gun is going to have a high attack speed and a high range. So we're going to actually store this one more time because we want to quickly check the weapon stats again with W. We're going to see our Broken Hero Sword is quickly running out of durability. It may run out soon. It is more of a problem when you get into larger map sizes, obviously, because the more monsters you have to fight, the quicker your durability will decrease, and so you got to make sure you have weapons stocked up for that occasion. And we do only have one more room left, so it's possible that we don't get any extra events. That final event, Disaster. We'll see what happens if we don't get another monster. Well, that's okay too. And well, we did get another monster. We're going to see if we can test out the durability really quickly, and I'll explain what it does when it breaks. We'll see how it does. Since we do have a range of only 2, it probably will not do anything if I choose to attack here. And as you can see, Broken Hero Sword is fragile, so that's what it's going to show before it's about to break. It is now decreased below 20 durability, so it's going to be fragile. We're going to continue attacking. The Broken Hero Sword has just broken. That's perfect timing. So I love the fact that that just really worked for us. The durability increased low enough. Oh, it's running through everything now. Alright, well, I'm going to quickly pause as soon as we get through some of these things. And the game is now over, but we're going to continue to explain. I'm going to quickly cross some of these out because we have now covered all of these. And we are now just on the win-loss conditions. But we're going to go right back just to quickly cover the last couple things that happened. I swung my Broken Hero Sword. It does 5 damage, slightly out of range. As you can see, the Broken Hero Sword was, broke. It was already broken, but not really, kind of. It's an interesting Terraria reference. I just chose to put that name in there. Broken Hero Sword broke, replaced with Nebula Gauntlets. So, if you remember, the Nebula Gauntlets were the first item in our inventory. It sucks that I didn't get to go back and check that because that was the last room, and therefore we are now done with the game and we've completed it. So the Nebula Gauntlets were the first item in our inventory, and that got immediately slotted in as soon as the Broken Hero Sword broke. And now the SDMG, Space Dolphin Machine Gun, which was the second item in our inventory, has now become the first item in our inventory, and that will be the next one to be slotted in case the Nebula Gauntlets break. And to quickly explain what happens if a weapon breaks and there are no replacements for it, it is actually just going to be temporarily renewed. And so that temporary renewal will make sure that the weapon will stay there with, again, decreased durability and decreased stats. And those stats will, it'll be impacted by this temporary renewal. And once you get another weapon, then you should be replacing that with the other one. So, yeah. As you can see, we defeated the Undead Archer. We ended up with 40 gold pieces, which will be shown later. And there we go. The map is not printed one more time because from above, I will quickly scroll up, you will know from above that this was the last question mark room that we have entered. And so the final map has already been all cleared. Everything is good to go. And so there we go. Congratulations, we have cleared the dungeon. That is the 4x4 dungeon, obviously. And so it will print out your final stats. As you can see, we defeated 8 monsters, which is actually fairly high for a dungeon of size, 15 available rooms and 1, starting room, which is already empty. And events cleared 2 and weapons found 2. So as you can see, adding this up quickly, we have 12 here. And out of a 16-room dungeon, we had 4 empty rooms that we went through. Those aren't counted in the final stats, obviously. So you can see we defeated 8 monsters, cleared 2 events, and found 2 weapons. Those were the Nebula Gauntlets and the SDMG. And this is our final gold count 40. So this is a specific stat that will increase based on monsters. And also the one thing which can happen in a choice one, that one choice that we got, the box, there is an option to get gold, to get treasure out of that box. So that is another option to gain gold. But this final gold count is essentially a stat that you should be proud of. You take a look at this gold count, and that's again proportional to how big of a dungeon you chose to take on. And if you're able to take on a challenging dungeon, a bigger one, and succeed, and you have this incredibly high gold count, well, then good for you. So that's it. That is the end of the program. This was RapidFireDnD. I'm going to close out of this thing because it's causing me some problems. There we go. We covered everything that I wanted to cover. And yeah, so this was initially a honors enrichment contract for the computer science class. So to my professor, I hope that you enjoyed this. It took me a lot of time. All of these classes that have worked perfectly together inside of the game function, which is called within main. Those were each individually worked on, over a period of time, and this final game was again compiled within the last week and a half, 2 weeks maybe. So yeah, again, thank you for the contribution of the character classes. I was able to use those clearly very well, and affecting damage, weapons, affinity to events, traps, and disasters, things like that. So yeah. And that is it. So this was run again in the terminal to explain written in Eclipse all of these classes one more time. And this has been RapidFireDnD by myself, Diego Borgo, and I hope you enjoyed it. And hopefully you'll be playing this. This might be eventually uploaded to GitHub with documentation, hopefully, because I am very proud of what I've done here. And so we will hopefully see if this is uploaded. If it is, I will provide a link in the description of this video. Yeah, so have a good day, and I hope you enjoyed.